What's happening, people? Back again. How's everyone? Everyone good? So today's, as you can see in the thumbnail, Gabriel Batistuta versus Alan Shearer. So who was the more complete striker? Um, in my opinion, two very good strikers. What I would say is that both were quite similar in terms of attributes, in terms of um, both being very good in the air, both having a good shot on them. Both were physical strikers as well. So it's quite a tough one. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through the overall appearances and goals for both players. So if we start off with Batistuta, so Gabriel Batistuta, 448 appearances over his career, 245 goals. Alan Shearer, 569 appearances, 321 goals. So as you can see, it's quite a similar. Obviously, Alan Shearer had the slightly longer career, but in terms of goals for both players, quite equal in regards to the appearances made. And also, Alan Shearer does hold the highest goal scorer ever in the Premiership, which is yet to be broken. And if you look at the clubs, so club-wise, Batistuta scored 203 goals in 331 games for Fiorentina. And then he scored 33 in 87 appearances for AS Roma. And then he later played for Boca Juniors, Inter Milan. And then he went back to Argentina to play for Newell's Old Boys and River Plate. And then Alan Shearer's career was 198 goals in 391 appearances for Newcastle, 114 goals in 148 appearances, which is where he won the league title as well with Blackburn, and then 9 in 30 appearances for Southampton. So the honours for both players as well. So as I mentioned, with Alan Shearer, had the one league title, which was won at Blackburn. And then he won 2 Player of the Years in the Premiership. And then he was 6 times top scorer in the Premiership. And as I mentioned before, holds the record for the most amount of goals in the Premiership as well. And then we go to Batistuta. Batistuta's got the 1 league title, the 1 Italian Cup, 2 Copa Americas with Argentina, 1 Player of the Year in the league, and then top scored 5 times in the league. So as I mentioned earlier, 2 very, very good players, 2 of the best strikers possibly of their generation. In my opinion, who's the better striker for me was Batistuta. And the reason I'm picking Batistuta is because when Batistuta was playing for Fiorentina, many people that are obviously from my era would remember watching the Italian league in the 90s, where the Italian league was the best league. We had all the top players. You had AC Milan, Juventus, AS Roma, Fiorentina. That's when for me football was enjoyable. Every Saturday morning I used to wake up. Without doubt, 10 o'clock in the morning will be the Italian football Golazzo. I had so many different videos as well of the Italian football. I'd say it was very, very exciting for me. Even if you look at some of the players back then, so you had players like for Fiorentina, Rui Costa, obviously Batistuta, Enrico Chiesa, and then you move on to, like, you look at Juventus. Juventus had Vialli, Ravanelli, Baggio, Del Piero, Zidane, Lilian Thuram. There were so many quality players in that Juventus team. And then AC Milan had the likes of Shevchenko and Zvonimir Boban. Baggio was there as well. Costa Curta, Maldini, Seedorf. Just so many world-class players in there. And then obviously Roma had the Francesco Totti's and Abel Balbo's, Hidetoshi Nakata. Yeah, loads of Antonio Cassano. Who else was in there? Tomasi. Yeah, the league was just absolute joke at the time, and as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. So, but yeah, with Batistuta, Batistuta for me was, as I say, him and Shearer are quite equal in terms of attributes, but I think Batistuta just had that slight bit more. I'll say a slight bit more arrogance to his game. And I think with Batistuta, he was clinical. I think, as I say, one of the Goal Lazio videos that I used to watch, um, some of the finishes this guy used to produce, left foot, right foot, um, outside the box, tap in, any finish you wanted, he had it in abundance. Yeah, he was phenomenal, to be honest. I forgot to mention as well. Sorry, Inter Milan, another top team. When they had Ronaldo, Brazilian R9, um, Zanetti, Yuri Djorkaeff, Rikoba, some world class players there. But yeah, just back to Batistuta. So yeah, Batistuta for me was I think personally at the time when he was at his peak was obviously at Fiorentina, and bearing in mind Fiorentina wasn't in the top two or three teams that were going for the title. I think in them times it was AC Milan, Juventus, and Inter Milan. So and Fiorentina and Roma I think were just outside there. But for me, he was arguably in the top three strikers in the league easily, probably top two. He was that good. And it's a shame that his career really didn't get the recognition that, in my opinion, it should have got. Because I think a lot of the time we talk about who are the best strikers of their generation, or the best strikers to play the game, and often Batistuta gets overlooked, in my opinion. And I think Batistuta for me is just yeah, he's one of the all-time greats. Yeah, he was saying Kels Batistuta. But as I say, yeah, with Alan Shearer, I mean, props to Alan Shearer, because Alan Shearer did play in an inferior team, and for him to win the league title with Blackburn, I think he was up front with Chris Sutton, for Blackburn, is a massive feat in itself. I mean, when he came to Newcastle, I remember I'll never forget when Newcastle signed him. If I remember right, it was the highest transfer fee at that time of 15 million. And you think about it now, 15 million will get you like a youth player. That's not even going to go into your first team, or get you someone from the Championship, i.e. Dan James. So, but yeah, when Shearer went to Newcastle, obviously he was going back home, and obviously the fans loved him. And to be fair, he done well there. I mean, football back then was obviously a lot different. So I think a lot of time obviously the game now is more about a striker doing more than just putting the ball in the back of the net. But when obviously Shearer was playing, I mean, yeah, I mean his record speaks for itself. So he was obviously one of the top guys for doing that. I think in terms of actual ability, for me, he's not one of the best in his position for actual ability. But I think for the era that he was in, and obviously the kind of style of play that it was, obviously a striker's job was to score the goals, and that's what he did. So he was very effective in doing that. But yeah, as I said, for me, it's Batistuta all day long. Um, but yeah, big up to Alan Shearer as well for his league title and his record. But for me, yeah, Batistuta is the more complete striker. If any of you guys have differences of opinion, as I say, be sure to drop them in the comments, and don't forget to smash the like button on my channel. And if you want to see even more content from myself, be sure to subscribe to my channel in the bottom right hand corner. And I'll catch you guys later.